Hello everyone, this is Vishal. So today I will explain some of the advanced and important concepts to design APIs effectively with Raml language. First of all, we'll go through how we can try to make our Raml specification more readable by introducing new type of Raml files like data type and examples. Along with it, we'll see how to extract requests and responses from main Raml file and maintain in a separate files. Finally, we'll try to import our product API ML specification which we have designed in our last video in Mule Application and understand how it benefits us in reducing the development efforts. Please note this is in continuation of my last video, so if you haven't watched it yet, then click on the description link popping above and watch that video. So let's get started.
So what we have done is that we implemented all the endpoints what we have got from the product service APIs, like the getting and get products, then add product, get products by ID, delete product, update products. And what we have done is that we describe and stated all the responses, the sample response you can say, in the same Raml file. But the thing is that when we as your Raml specification grows, right? Because in industry wide, it's not necessary that your service will have only 3 or 4 endpoints. It might, there can be there can be good chances of your service will have a multiple endpoints based on the business needs. And that time your API specification, when you want to implement in a MuleSoft, then that specification might grow. So that time your file size and it would not be a readable code. So in that case, adding your static response, sample response within same Raml file won't be helpful, or you can not helpful, but it won't be look good or not a readable user friendly code. So what we can do is that we can improvise on top of it, and we will segregate this code into the different Raml files and refer those things from the external site using the uh, import command what we have in a MuleSoft, that is include one. So basically thing is that every JSON format, JSON object what we are receiving, or any response, HTTP response what we send back has a some type. Since for us, let's say this example, this get products is returning an array of product details, but this product has a some type, it has a some schema. So this type is nothing but the object type, so it's a product object type. So so we can define an object type for any response what we are sending back to the user, or any request that we receive from the user. So that is the one thing we can define is the data type. Later on, what we can do is that instead of mentioning all this data at one place, we can create a Raml extra. There are two ways. One is using the Raml file, that .raml you can create for that example, or you can create .json file as well. So we will go ahead and we'll see how we can create the data type. First of all, to create the product schema, and then we will define the other properties or other examples. So on the left hand side over here, you can see that a Raml file will be described. Within the files, we have this file created. The moment you create the API specification with some file name, so this file will be created over here. There is a plus button over here. So if I click on that, it will ask you two things, whether you want to have a folder or a file. So we will say, first of all, we'll create the folder of data type, product data type. And within that we will add one Raml file. Now over here in the second options, you have a multiple way types, right? Resource type. What is that Raml you're defining for? Is it a specification just like the product service Raml, or is it trade that is related to security things, or is it other resource type, library, overlay? There are multiple options we got: extension, data type, user documentation, example, annotation type, and lot many things. But as of now, we are defining the data type. So I'll click on the data type. So the name you can change something like product, because it's a object or the data type we are defining for the product. So I'll just click on create. So the initial root level structure for your product data type will be created. So if you see the difference between the product service API Raml and the product Raml data type what we have created is in the API specification, it's just the root level, the top element, the statement is Raml with the version, and by default if you don't add anything, that is considered as a specification. Now if you go to the product.raml, it is defining it is as a data type, so it signifies that this file is not for any specification. This is to create the data type. Okay, now we will create the data type. So the first thing to create the data type, because it's a user defined object, so it's not a fundamental object of like type string or integer or something. It's user defined data type. So the type is the first element you have to add. It is over here, you can take it from here. MuleSoft has good support. So if I click on the type, so the type is, you will have multiple options available over here. So this is a user defined type, so it's an object. So click on the object. So that is your type. Now if it's an object, that means that object will be having some properties, right, or some variables within it, fields within it. So the first thing you have to add is properties. It's within a schemas over here. If I click on it, it will come under that. Now the first property what we have got is that, so let me open my Raml, my Swagger, so that you can refer it from this place also. So we are going to define that. Okay, so if I open it, there are plenty of things. This is our actually product object. So what, how many fields we have is like, one we got the price one. The price is in number form. In Mule, it's actually a big decimal or a floating decimal number, because price may have a decimal values, and so that's why in MuleSoft that is described in a number. So if we go over here, so we'll describe first one. That is, before that we have a product ID as well. This product ID is a unique key, and this product ID cannot be decimal, so it's always be integer. So we can define that first. So product ID, right, and we'll define the type as a integer. So there should be space after colon. The second property what we need is the price, the one we have just seen, and price is a number format. Number. So if you don't know the types or the proper name of the type, so you can over here, when you go you type the property name colon, enter space, and you will be finding all the data types present within the support. So all things are present. So I just, right now the price is number, so I click on the number, so it will add it, right? So then what do we have is product name. Product name is a string value. So product name colon space string. Then we have product type, that is also string. Space, it is also string. Now what do we got is there is another variable of type boolean. This under warranty is a boolean type. It always have value true or false. So I will add that too. So this is under warranty, and this which is a boolean. So we have the here over boolean. So I click on that. So this is half of the properties what we got from the product details. Now if you see that within this object there is another object. It's a nested object, you can say, of manufacturing details. It's again the object which has three properties. So again we have to mention that object. So this manufacturing details, I'll take the next one, right? Within that, the first thing I need to mention is type. Type, I would say, it's again the object. It's not a fundamental type. And within that, I would say whether it's required or not, because for me it's mandatory, so I would add it is required. Then since it is an object, again we need to add properties of it. So properties, and then we would add all the properties required within that manufacturing details. So if you go over here, there are 3 properties within manufacturing details. One is the company location, company name, and manufacture date. So company location is again string value, so I just copy it from here, add here, colon, space, string, hit enter. Second one is company name, so again at the same place, company name, colon, hit space, string. And the last one that we got is a manufacturing date. Now we are taking this as a date time. So this is the object what we have present in MuleSoft. So if I just go down over here, there are multiple ways to define the date. It's only date, only time, on date and time only, and date and time. So we will take date time. So it requires space, right? So this becomes the schema of our objects. So anything, if in future if you want to add any extra fields in your product details, you should change this object type. Now how do we use that object? So if I go to the product Raml, the first thing we should be doing is we need to import that Raml the very first level. So over here we would be including. So in order to include, you need to add a types tag. Within that you should give the name. What should be the name of that object you're creating? So name of that object is, here is, you should have a new name. It's not necessary to match with the product Raml. And here before that, how do you want to create that object type? Do you have any reference? Do you have any schema? So we can include the schema. So in order to include, you can use the include syntax. So this is the standard syntax. And now over here they are giving options, because Raml recognizes where your Raml data type Raml are present. So it will recognize this, and again it will give you the options. So it will be automatically included. Now we define the type, one product. Now this type can be used when we are responding back to the user in some sort of the JSON format, or we are taking the request of that type object, the product object. Now first thing we will do is that within this, over this get products, this is the products API, which in response we are sending back array of product details. So this is our one product object, right? So this is array of product. So it would be nice if we define the type what we are sending back to user. So over here again we got the type tag, and I can mention over here that the type of the data I'm sending back to the user is of product array. So I have a type called product, and I would mention that it's an array. Now this is giving an error because we will be referring it from the other locations. So I'll take this out, right, and I'll put it somewhere here. Now the thing is, the response what we had over here is that this is a static response. So again, instead of having that response over at this place, we can add it somewhere in the other file and refer that file at this place, right? So for that we will create another file at this location under the directory example, and we will refer that over here, right? So again I'll create the folder, let's say product examples. I'll hit the create. Within that, let's say I'll create the file. Now this time, instead of API specification or data type, I'm going to select example. So the name I would give there would be multiple examples we'll be setting up over here. So I would say first one is product underscore array underscore example. So I click on create, so it will create the example, right? So if you see that in the root level, it has taken the type of our Raml file as a example, name example, right? And this name has been taken from your file name. All right, now you can have this name over here, or you can mention the value. That is the way to add the values within the name example. So as of now, I will replace this with value, and within under this we will be referring our array of objects. So in order to start the array of object, we need to have dash operator first that describes that you will be writing the first object after this. So over here we'll be adding our object. This times it's not a schema, you need to have an actual object to be present. So this is our object, right? So we can take it from this place. So this would be the object. So right now this object in JSON format, but what we are using is Raml one. So we have to define this in similar way, the way we describe this Raml file, the way we define this Raml file, right? In the same way we would be writing our example file. So the first thing we would need is a product ID. And this time instead of type we will be giving the values. Let's say the first value something is, we'll give some random values I'm giving. It's not necessary to have it the same with the response or somewhere. It's just these are the sample responses. So product ID I'll give it this, then we'll have a price. So I'll give something like any value. Then we got the product name, right? So I would say product name is something test product. Then we got the product type, let's say it's something electronic product. Then we have the under warranty. I'll copy from here. And this is true, right? We have this much. Now under this I will add this one. This is another object, so I'll take it from here, right? Colon, within it we have company location, right? So let's say we'll have company location somewhere. It's not necessary to have it. Let's say Mumbai. Then we got company name, let's say test private limited something. Then we have company name, what we got, and its last is the manufacturing date. So I'll take it from here, the same one. I'll copy over here. I'll remove the quotes. So it's in a date and time format. So I'll copy it and we'll remove this one. Right? So this becomes our first object. So since we will be defining array of objects, so we'll add one more object over here. So this comes a first object. So I'll go down and I'll put the dash operator and add one more value. So I just simply copy from here and we can change the values. Let's say 101, some value. Test one product. Warranty, let's say I'm giving some different values in order to identify. All right. So this becomes our Raml file for product array example. So we can use this product array example in our product service in order to define our array of JSON. So this would be converted. So over here, instead of now using example, we'll be going with the examples, and within it, or just before that, you can include that array file. So again, within if you go down within the support, you will have an options whether it's a data type or example, but this times we have an example, so we'll add examples and the example file name, right? So again, we got the two word price should be integer and price should be a number. It should be integer. Okay, we got the same one. Okay, again I added the comma. Okay, that should not be thing. Right, that's proper. Alright, so we got the first API. Now if you compare the code structure, the lines of code what we got for a first API, it's quite like it's in a less number compared to the earlier one, right? So this is how we can improvise our Raml file. So this is the first API what we got and we refactored it. Now we'll go step by step and improvise the other one. Now, so I'll just kill this nice. Alright, so this is the nested resource. Again, what we got is that we have a response, and over here we are responding back only single object. We don't have multiple objects, so we can define type over here that we are responding back only single object. So I would mention type as just product. Right now over here I'll just take this value out of this place. Again, instead of having the static value, we can mention this as again from the example, but as of now we created an example only for array of product details. So we will add one more Raml file with the name example type for only single object. So within this I'll create the new file. I'll again specify my example as my type as an example, and here I would say product underscore example. It's a single object. So I click on create. Again, it comes under that. Now we will change this name to say something which is standard one value, and within it we can have our object. So we can just simply take from this place. This would be our one object, right? So I just copy here. Why it's giving error? Okay, just better, because the one space in YAML makes a lot of difference. Okay, this is one object for product types, so it would be auto save automatically. So if I go down to my main Raml over here, instead of example, we'll go to examples. When we are doing the include, we need examples, and over here, this is the main syntax to include. You will be having options down to select which one within product examples. Now this is a single object, we'll say product underscore example. So this becomes our second API. Okay, now the third one, we got the delete product. However, in a delete product, we don't have any kind of the response which we can refer from outside this specification. So this would be the constant. So we'll not touch this one. So this is actually the proper one. Now we'll go to the create. Now in create, we have instead of response, we have request. And request is the same type way we got the response. It's a product object. So here, this example is a request. So this request is again of type product. So we can define this type for this example, and we can refer this value from this product example.raml file. So again, we will do the changes for this. Over here, I will mention type as space product. So this product, I got it created from the type. So this is one I'm referring. Okay, I will take this out. I'll change this example to examples, and simply I'll include that file. I'm mentioning over here that product example is my request object. So this would be the response. So I just bring it up one line above. That's it. So this is our post API what we have created. Same one goes down for update. Again, it's the same. The example what we have, or this is just a request object. It's a put to update the details, and this is just a request object. So over here also we can do the same thing what we have just done for create. So I'll mention the type product. I'll take this off, change to examples, and include. Right, and the last one we got is add product, which would generate an error because we added that extra one in order to handle the errors in future. So again, over here we can mention the type, because the type or the type request type or the request object we're sending is almost same. Not almost, it's entirely same. We're just playing around a single object. So again, I'll mention it's a product, and within it we'll mention over here right. That's it. This we are done with our improvisation or refactoring or Raml file. So the same behavior you will get over here within your APIs. So if I click on the get for get products, I should get the same behavior. So it should so if I try it, if I click on the try it, since we don't have any parameters, if I click on send, it should return me back with a 200, and the response should be array of product details. Now instead of taking that from this same place, it's saying that I have the array defined in this file, so take it from that place. So this file will return you back the array of data what we have just mentioned in this product array example file. Similarly, the same case with the other APIs what we have created. So for create product, I'll give create. If I click on post, I go for a tryout, right? Over here, if I click on send button, I'll get the 201 created, because for create we have 201 response HTTP, and the message again the same, product added successfully. So this is how we can improvise and refactor our Raml file. So far we have created the Raml file which is ready, so we can use this Raml file to import into our Anypoint Studio and would create the base structure. So in order to create that structure, we need something which helps you to use this Ramls efficiently and get the structures created automatically. So if you go now, I have opened my Anypoint Studio, right? So this is our existing project. I just opened because I just want to share you what is that component present or the plugin present in Anypoint or Mule palette. So Mule palette only be active when you have any product like Mule configuration file open. All right, now this palette is open. So if I search over here API kit router, right? This is these two components. This API kit is important because this is the plugin which has been provided by MuleSoft to generate the flows for based on the against your Raml file. So it's actually a message processor that validates the request against the Raml definition and routes the request to a flow. So it's actually an open source specifications that has been provided by MuleSoft, and it's actually a kit which generates the interfaces automatically. And the important thing is that it does not depend on the version of which Anypoint Studio and the Mule runtime it's using, because it's independently a separate plugin. So if I go to the pom.xml, right, so maybe I don't see that because I'm not using over here. So let me open pom.xml. So right now I'm not using in this product, so I don't see that. So if I open the other product project, this one, because if I open this, because I use API kit router over here, so you can see this one. This is the plugin and this is the dependency version. So it's absolutely independent on the which Mule runtime server and the Anypoint Studio you're using, and you can also update with the latest version of the API kit router, because this would be helpful to generate all the flows, validate your flows, and route your request based on your endpoint and the API path you're mentioning on the URL, and it will route you to the proper flow based on your name. So thing is that it performs routing implicitly. That we will see how it does the performing, how it does the routing part. But the important thing is that in your when we go for the enterprise level and when we build the specification, we don't go again manually to implement the services. So we would take the help of we would take the benefit of our Raml file and implement all our flows, the interface of the flows, not the actual implementation. Okay, so so we'll do that things today. We'll create our flow from that Raml file. So as we'll create a new flow over here. Okay, let me close this one, so everything I'll close. Right, okay, I'll create the new one. Okay, you can just use Alt Shift N. Okay, I'll give product service API. This is a project name. Now over here, this Mule runtime is already taken. API implementation, under this section, just click on specify API definition, file location or URL. So there are two options to give your file location. This is basically we're referring to the Raml file. So it will ask you for the locations. If we click on this small that 3 symbol button, so there are two options. Either you can browse files from your local machine, or you can go to the design center. Right, we have that, we publish that file, we have that file save in our design center, so we can use it from that location as well. So if I click on the design center, so for you the first page would appear to login, because it requires to login because we are first time we're doing. For me, it's since I have already logged in, that it will show me that whatever the Raml file I got created under the self-learning, right? This is the one product service API that we just created. So I'm click on that. So I'm using that Raml file to create the flows. So if I click on OK, so it will automatically take that Raml file And if you see under source main resource, it has imported all your Raml files. So you will see all your Raml files present over there. Now it will download from the design center and put it in your source main resources. Okay, so this would be your flow. So the thing is, like, API kit router will create this thing, so it will, the important things, the basic things it will add with your flow, that what things API kit add is that it will create the main flow, then it will add the HTTP listener configurations, it will add API kit router component, this is the router, and then it also takes care of handling some of the basic errors. So these are the errors. Okay, for now just keep the error handling, ignore it, because we will be taking care of that error handling in the future sessions. So important thing is, from API kit router it calls all these APIs. So if I open this listener, right, you would see it has added one more part in your base path. Now see, the connector configuration is already created. So if I click on this edit button, right, it has taken localhost and 8081, the default one, right? So if I cancel and if I check the other properties, the base path within the path, right, the API/API has been taken care. So this is to distinguish between your normal flows and the flows which got generated from the API kit router. So this is to distinguish. So every time whenever you hit any service or any endpoint from the web service URL, you got to mention /API and then your resource name, like update or delete or create or something. So those things will be mentioned after that. So this star signifies like all your resources which are going to send back. Okay, now if you see, this flow has been created. Now we got one more component over here, is API console. This console is nothing but the same screen you would get when you were interacting with your service. So this is your responsive screen. You are interacting with your APIs at the time of development of your specification. The same sort of screen you would be getting over here. So if I click on the console, this is just a specifications. If I click on the listener, you would see there is a console path mentioned in that path section, right? This one. So if you use like localhost 8081/console, then that API specification page, the like similar to Swagger, will open, and then you can interact with your actual APIs, not the specification. Okay, so when when we go for the development, once you done the development, that time you got your API ready with the implementation you deployed on your cloud server or any physical server, then you have your console. So whenever any other team wants to use that, you just share the console, let them understand how is your API behaving, right? This is the second part, that's the API console that will generate. Now it takes care of its own error handling for not found. Now if you see, these are the flows which has been created by MuleSoft, and this flow has some static response, and the response is the same what we have given in our Raml file. So if I click on this transform message, one of the component, you see that for a put product, like when we put the product, you would get the message like product updated. This is the end message what we return back to the user once we update the product, right? So this is the message we go. So if I go to the get products, here you should see the array of product details, same one what we have given inside a Raml specification. These all the details has been imported from your Raml specification. And similarly for all other cases. Now there must be a question in your mind, how API kit router does this routing? How does it understand that which flow to call at what time? So API kit routing by default is based on your flow name. Now if you see the flow name, it has some standard syntax, like first is the HTTP method, then your resource name, then the product service API config. This is a standard config name, right? Again, for this, see, it's HTTP method, then your API config resource name. This is your nested resource name and the configuration name, right? Similarly, for other things also you can validate based on this name. It will check, validate whether your API is already present or whether it's matching with any of the flow present in your application or not, or else it will throw 404 from API kit router itself. So as of now, I'll just run it. I don't do anything. So let's see what happens. If I click on run as Mule applications, same process, it will deploy your application on Mule runtime. First of all, it does the Maven clean install. Now see, now it is deployed. So within API Anypoint Studio, it will try to open the console. So if I click on the open console, or there is this open console has some URLs. So, and you can also see that URL somewhere in your console as well. This is my URL. So I use it. Instead of opening from this place, I go to browser. I just typed here. So it will open the console similar to the API specification. See, you got it. Now when you have actual implementation, this service, this console will behave like will actually work on your real-time data. So if I click on the get product right now, still we got the mock data, because in the we haven't replaced the transform message component over here. We yet to replace this. This transform message actually holds your mock data, these components. The same is responded back. So if I click on the send button, it will call the Mule application. It will get the data from that transform message and return back, right? 200 and the array of product details. Actually, it does not go. It doesn't scroll down. I don't know. Is it problem with my machine, like browser or something? But anyways, the thing is, it will respond you back with the mock data as of now, because we are yet to implement those things. Okay. So far what we have done, we designed the API specification. We use that specification to import in our studio. We created our flows. We have we see how to use API kit router and how can we override the existing flow names. Then we deployed it and opened the console. Now in the next session, what do we do? That we will actually implement all those surveys and make a call to our product service. As of now, we got the mock data. Now we will implement it. We'll add our implementation logic for each API, that add, update product, create product, get products, and see how we can use that. That means we are going to make it as a real-time application or real-time API.